Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Random. It's our TakeOff Sports Talk segment. Aj, Greg, T, Smallwood Worldwide. And today we're bringing you the Reminisce Over You episode. Check this out. Listen, we're going to talk about role players today. You know, the guys who don't get all the stats and glam, the guys who go in there and do the dirty work, your glue guys, right? And we're talking about in the NBA. Now, to kick this off, we're going to start off with our role players from the 80s, the 90s. Could they actually hang with the role players who are supposedly more athletic and more wingy and more something today? I don't know. I'm going to kick this off to you. Aj, what's your thoughts?
Damn. I guess I could go through some of the people who popped in my mind as being very good role players. A lot of times back in the 80s and 90s, although I was like an NBA fiend and I could name a lot of the rosters, the idea of what a role player is and isn't is a tough one, and it's up for debate. But I kind of took some of this and some of that in terms of, because my original thought of it was kind of like, well, there's 6 men, right? There's starters, there's stars, and there's superstars, and then there's role players. But when you look at the whole definition of it, it could be pretty much anything outside of a star is a role player, so to speak. It's kind
That's
of
right.
how I went with it. But in some cases, I still went with a star, and I have one big one to, well, not in this section, but in another place where I can really turn some heads. But from the 80s and 90s, and this also left a gap. No, this is not racist, praise the Lord. But I left a gap in between the 80s and 90s, and then maybe the last decade. So if someone
from the 99 to 2000.
So someone fell in between that era, then I left them off, and hopefully, they'll still get their props at some point. If they're not mentioned, then I'll just randomly shout their name out.
Yeah.
The first one, Mark Eaton. No, I'm just playing. So the first one, my first guy is actually Dennis Rodman, who is, of course, is a superstar, one of the 50, 75 greatest players ever. But if you look at his role on the team, his role was to do specific things. So I had Rodman as one of my all-time 80s, 90s role players. Another guy was Tony Kukoc, who's also on that Bulls dynasty. And when you really think about Tony Kukoc's role on that team, like he was basically a starter off the bench, which is what you asked for in those particular instances. I had to go throw back to another dynasty that came about, and I was thinking about it in a lot of ways. So I was trying to keep it all together. Michael Cooper from the Los Angeles Lakers. He was kind of considered the third or maybe fourth banana on that Showtime team, but Michael Cooper, as I remember him, had long socks and shut down defense. Anyway, so that's
my man.
Yeah. Speaking of dynasties, people from the 80s and 90s that did really well, another person on the roster that I decided to put on there was the microwave Vinnie Johnson, who has one of the illest nicknames of all time and is also probably the first person you should think of when you ever think of the 6th Man of the Year award. He used to come off the bench and get hot, hence the nickname microwave. And he was probably the first guy who had www.igetbuckets.com. He's probably the first person to subscribe to that website. So that was what Vinnie Johnson does. The last one, man, I mean, I could go in a lot of different directions, and I don't want to name names. I could go AC Green. I could go Del Curry. I could go Bill Laimbeer. But for the sake of just off of his pure talent alone and the fact that he probably doesn't get mentioned in these lists like he should, I'm going to go with Lamar Odom. Because Lamar Odom played his role he played his role on championship teams, but he should have been a bigger deal in terms of like his role on a team. But because he accepted that role as being like a secondary person, he was super consistent as a secondary person. In a lot of ways, he was usually the most talented person on the team. The only time that he was not the most talented person on the team that I can think of off the top of my head was when he played with Kobe Bryant. And if you went off of raw talent, he was probably more rawly gifted than Kobe Bryant was. Of course, he couldn't outwork Kobe because there's one thing I can say about Kobe: no one outworked Kobe. So that's it. So those are the 5 that I went with as far as my 80s, 90s guys. And I think Lamar just qualifies for that, just barely.
Nice.
Let me interject here real quick. Now, are we still gonna use that Lamar Odom as a actual role player? Because at one point he was the man on this team. Now, are these people that came in role players, or people that became role players we're talking about, or?
No, because I didn't include Kevin McHale for the reason that you're bringing up. Because I thought of Kevin McHale. I think of Kevin McHale as a Hall of Famer, but Lamar, and not that role players can't be Hall of Famers, because of course Dennis Rodman is, but Lamar Odom.
Oh, there's a lot of role players that are Hall of Famers.
I don't think of Lamar Odom ever as a one. He was never a one on the team, even if he was supposed to be.
He was when he was on the Clippers.
He was another guy on the Clippers. He wasn't the guy on the Clippers. That's how I look at it.
I'm pretty sure he was the guy like his first 2-3 years.
His talent level would suggest he's the guy, but he was not. I think
he was not.
Well, like during that time, who was the guy then?
Duke.
I think it was Elton Brand. I think it was Elton Brand who was the guy.
I thought he was there after Elton Brand or before.
I think they were there at the same. I mean, the Clippers' history gets a little mucky. I think they were there at the same time, but everybody's cycled through the Clippers. It feels like at one point or another. So
listen, everybody needs a rest stop. So do truckers, right? You go to the bathroom, you get done, you leave. Think of the Clippers like that.
Now, what happened there? I mean, that sounds like a script.
Hate. No.
But yeah, that's my 5. Though.
Nice. I'm gonna dive in here, right? Because I have a similar 5 for the 80s and 90s top 5 role players. Right, I got Rodman. Actually, got Horace Grant. Always a glass eater. I love my glass eaters. I love Bill Laimbeer, Greg. Okay, averaging 17, 12, 1 point. All right, listen.
Bill Laimbeer was great for his time.
You're damn right he was.
Yeah.
Tony Kukoc.
No disputing that shit. Yeah, no one's disputing that.
And you know what else they wasn't doing? They wasn't coming in the lane. Got Tony Kukoc on my list. Of course, he was pioneer in a lot of ways, and I actually had never heard of him, and he came over and just it's phenomenal talent, despite the stuff with Scotty. So whatever. And then listen, Scotty's getting it from everywhere, right? No, let me show. Yeah. So, anyways,
don't you mean Scotty's wife is getting it from everywhere?
I was trying to hold back from that. But and then I have Ron Harper, right? Ron Harper, the ultimate role player. Ironically, when he left the Clippers is when you got a chance to see that talent shine as brightest. So there it is. So those are my 5 from the 80s and 90s. He was great. Yeah, he got injured.
Ron Harper was a huge consideration for me too.
Yeah. I was on the cusp with him because I was like, "Is he role player?" And I was like, "No, definitely."
He's a second life role player. He was the focal point of the offense at times on the Cavs when he first got there and on the Clippers. Yeah, but a lot of these guys are second life. They're second life role players.
Yeah, they hurt their knee. He hurt his knee pretty early. I mean,
yeah. That's why I said he's a second life role player. That's like people would try and put someone like Grant Hill in a role player.
No.
Listen, like later in his career. Like later in his career, he was a role player. He was a defensive player. He wasn't the guy that he should have been.
I don't know for me if Grant Hill had enough.
A lot of the role players that y'all are naming are former the man guys. Because Grant Hill on the side. I didn't say all of them. I said a lot of them are dudes that were first options in the beginning, and then something happened and they became role players.
Really? Michael Cooper was the first option, huh?
I said a lot of them, not all of them.
Bill Laimbeer was the first option. He was the offense ran through him, didn't run through Zeke. I'm just
once again. I said a lot. Not all.
Horace Grant was getting up some shots.
Jordan, move out the way, man. Whole Grant about to take this jumper, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Yo, Lamar, man, sit back, man. Olo Candy got.
See now, Olo Candy. Now that's a role player.
Yeah,
yeah, he plays the role in
It's a role player.
Trash man. Hey T, what you got for us in the 80s and 90s, yo?
He was starting at left bench.
You starting to get fired. That's what he was doing. So I did this a little bit different. So do you mind, Antoine? I'm going to go through 80s, 90s, and today.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do today too.
Right. So I'm gonna go straight into it if you're okay with it.
All day.
Because I guess you'll understand once I lay out the team that I got here. So in my mind, right, the way that I saw this going is two teams playing against each other, right? 80s, 90s team versus today's role-playing type team. And of course, if you're going to have a game like that, the big question is always, what rules are we going to play by?
Yeah.
So in my mind, to try to make it fair,
I like that.
I don't think you can have like, first and second quarter be modern rules, third and fourth quarter be 80s, 90s rules. I think that it has to go, one era for the first quarter, the other era for the second quarter, first era for the third quarter, right? So that there's so that things don't get too far out of hand, either direction. So I put teams together to try to see what would be like a good game. Like, so I tried to strategically put the teams together. Now, my definition of role players was, I guess for the 80s and 90s, I tried to make it pretty definitive. Anyone that felt was kind of leaning towards being a star, most of those guys I stayed away from. Like, I had contemplated Harper, but I was like, I mean, he's really good. I contemplated Kukoc because I had even seen somewhere where they had Scottie Pippen listed as a role player. I'm like, no way, Scott.
Nah,
No way.
Nah.
But anyway, so this is what I got here, fellas. So for the 80s, 90s team, I had Mutombo in the middle because he's a defensive shot blocking type dude, right?
Interesting.
I put Rodman in there, defense, rebounding. I got Big Shot Rob because he's clutch, right?
He's a role player for sure.
Yeah. Michael Cooper. I mean, these are all definite role players, basically. Michael Cooper for defense and scoring. I got the microwave as a six-man coming off the bench. And I actually had Steve Kerr in for shooting because he's the most accurate three-point shooter in the history of basketball.
I like it.
And then the crazy part is, for today's players, it was so hard for me to figure out who role players were that I had to go and find some kind of listing somewhere because people, they don't typically, they may quote unquote specialize in something, but what they say they specialize in is not so. I guess their skill level in that area is not so far beyond their skill level in other areas because the requirements are different today.
Exactly.
So the of that list of, I think it was like 45 players that they had listed, the center I put was Brook Lopez. He's a big guy. He can play some defense. He can also shoot, which is quite a bit different than Mutombo, of course. Draymond Green, Aaron Gordon.
Yep.
Drew Holiday.
You put tech support on there?
I did.
That dude looks like he's coming by the picture computer every time he walks in. Timberlands and khakis and a damn polo shirt with stripes on it. Talking about, hey, did you turn it off? Did you turn it off first? Did you turn it off?
Powered up. You got plugged in. Let me see. I also got Mike Conley, and then they had Chris Middleton as a role player, which I wasn't quite sure I agreed with. I think he might be a little beyond that. So maybe Marcus Smart instead of him. But I mean, you can kind of see where that would be. Those are, I guess, they're all basically like role players. There's really any questions about any of them, and it would be a good contest. Go ahead.
I think Aaron Gordon. I think tech support was to me like the one guy who was like a real role player. The other ones I would argue against, like, but whatever. I mean, it's your list.
He's close. He's close. Yeah.
No, Aaron Gordon's like a perfect.
He's an energy guy.
He is like the perfect role player of his era, especially. I just wish I would have thought of it. Yeah, I don't know if it's just me. Every time I see that dude,
tech support.
I turn my computer off and then turn it back on again. I just see them.
Hilarious.
But anyway, that was how I put that together, Antoine. That's how I interpreted that question.
No, I like it. Greg, did you have anything you want to add on that? Because now I'm gonna jump in with the current.
Yeah, this is the thing about the competition that TJ just kind of laid out. All of these guys are pretty much solid role players. I know what conversation this all sparks from, because I was thinking we were talking about guys from number 7 on down on the list of players. But since we're doing it like all around role players, some guys are starters, some guys aren't. The thing that I'm seeing here is with the 80s and 90s team, you're going to get some pretty great defense.
All day.
Offensively, they are going to suffer. There is not one person on that team that they put together, which is a good team on paper, that's got any kind of real handle. They're going to get D'd. They're going to get D'd up, and they're going to get locked down just as much. So then after that, you have to reply.
Back. I mean,
can I finish? Can I finish?
Turn it back and put him down. If you think tech support's stopping anybody, he's not. He's not stopping viruses or nothing.
Like, if you think Mutombo's going to be hanging out around the 3-point line, that's also crazy.
Who do you think he is? AD? Come on.
Mutombo knows better than that. Who was your center?
Lopez. Brook Lopez can hit outside jumpers.
Oh yeah, okay,
yeah. You see,
now they had Chet Holmgren on that role player list, but I don't believe that
he's not a
I don't think Brook Lopez is a little role player either, though I could see where someone would say that.
Yeah, even with a guy like Mike Conley.
I don't think so.
Like if you're gonna put Mike Conley as a role player, you could also put Chris Paul there because he's just a souped up version of like it's the term role player is a lot harder to define now because everybody does everything.
It is.
So what it's basically breaking down into is in the 80s and 90s you have specialists, and in today's game you have guys that aren't specialists, so they're not really like some of the guys that aren't superstars aren't particularly great at anything, but they're good at everything.
I think CP3 is a star, though. I ain't gonna disrespect him.
Oh yeah, he is a star. But
yeah,
he's definitely a star.
I get what you're saying about the specialist thing. I get what you're saying because I get what you're saying about the specialist thing because like Del Curry's a perfect example, right? They're like, we bring Del Curry in for a shot.
Yeah, and now everyone's got that shot.
Well, let's not. Everyone takes that shot.
Look, when I say everyone's got that shot, I mean nobody is getting benched for taking a 3-pointer. That's what I mean. They're just like that.
Oh, they have the green light to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got the green light to do it. So it's a thing where it's more of a conversation against 80s and 90s specialists against guys that aren't really superstars but can still do everything. That's what it kind of boils down to when you break this game down today.
And
because there's like the only person I know out of all the lists that y'all really named that can really hold their own both ways. I got Vinny the Microwave Johnson could definitely hold his own both ways. Ron Harper, the version that y'all have, he's defensively, yes. I don't know if he can still hold his own offensively, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Tony Kukoc is a guy that would fit in really good with today's game.
Yeah.
I think he would suffer defensively, though. I don't think he can really stop or keep up with anyone without the hand checking and all that stuff.
I mean, if you got Mutombo,
because he's slow-footed.
If you got Mutombo in the background, I mean, if someone gets past him, Mutombo is swatting there.
Yeah, driving right into
him. Yeah, but Mutombo wasn't on TJ's team. Okay. I mean, Kukoc wasn't on TJ's team. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So you have a guy like Kukoc out there. He's going to end up getting ate up off like on defense because the defense is so different. Back then, like you could hide, you could actually hide somebody on defense back in the day.
Oh yeah,
you can't hide anyone anymore.
I don't think that's true.
I do because
I think you can hide people now because they can play zone. They can play zone and stuff now.
That's right. You can't play man to man
back then.
Yeah, but what I'm saying back then is you can take your weakest defender and put him on Dennis Rodman because you know Dennis Rodman's not trying to score. You can hide your guy because you know Dennis isn't going to be a guy that's trying to go to the hole and get a bucket. You can't do that now. Everyone is trying to get buckets and taking long jumpers and everything else, and everybody's got a little bit of a handle to try and get to the rim. It's a different kind of build. You know what I mean? You could hide someone and put them on someone who you know is not going to score. Like if you go back and look at old games in the 80s and 90s, you'll see a guy catch the ball and they'll just walk away. And he's pretty much open, but he's not going to take the jumper. That's where the game differs. So there's a balance there.
They still
that you have to kind of figure out.
I get what you're saying, but I think that if anything for me is the reverse, is that today's players couldn't hide because of the zone defense, right? If you take away that zone defense, like whenever you look at teams, the reason some of these massive runs happen, I used to watch, for instance, the Golden State games. And I was like, damn, how's Golden State go from being down like 30 to up by 30? When these teams get out of those zone defenses, right? And I think what was the squad that was slated to win the chip? It was the Clippers, right? That was when Blake Griffin, CP3, all of them, right? Lob City. Doc Rivers coach again. Sorry, Doc. But no.
It's not my fault. I didn't do it.
When they switched up, man, they were getting cooked.
Yeah.
Curry's cooking them. Klay Thompson doesn't even need a lot of dribbles. He's not even like Iverson or Kyrie-esque. He just knows how to get to his spot. And so those guys have to go back to a zone to try to stand a chance. And by the time you do that, you're blown away. But back then, I feel you on a hand checking thing. I do think that helped, but also you could play defense then, right? And if you play by those rules where you can, even if I take away hand checking, but you can actually still have aspects of the physical part of the game, not like knocking people in the head, but just actually you can get up in your defender without a whistle being blown. Like you watched the other night, I think it was the Pacers against the Knicks, and they called a screen that was moving, and Vincenzo or whatever. I'm like, yo, he jumped to the ground.
I saw the regular screen.
Yeah, you get a lot of stuff like that.
Hey, let me sprinkle this in on you real quick.
Are you gonna have an opinion, or are you just gonna shit on everyone else's? I mean, like,
yes to both. My opinion is shitting on y'all. Now,
hey.
So when it comes to the defense nowadays,
right,
you're allowed to utilize the zone. Now, if you utilize the zone against a guy like Robin, Oakley, these guys that can't shoot like that, then you're talking about a whole different slew of problems, because they ain't got no wet jumpers. They ain't just sticking around on that. It causes much more problems because they aren't guys they aren't built that way. They haven't been trained up that way to play the game that way. So there's a difference there. So they're going to suffer if you put a zone on them much more than the guys today suffer with the zone.
That's part of the reason why, in my mind, the way to make it fair would be a quarter of 80s, 90s rules, a quarter of
I like that.
Quarter of 80s.
Yeah.
90s.
But also, Greg, you got to remember, people accepted their roles. Like Dennis Rodman scored average 38 a game.
And so did Patrick Beverly in high school. You see what he's looking like now.
No, but San Antonio Rodman.
I was say high school ain't the same as college. And Rodman could, if you look at Rodman, actually, well, I know you watched him play. But he could have averaged 20 points pretty easily. He just chose.
Well, I think most guys could have, but if I put it to you like this, there's no way in an NBA game that Rodman could have been the focal point offensively. Now he's still a professional player, and if you leave him open, I believe you will hit a shot. But with the level from the small college he played at, averaging whatever, to the pros, it's not going to happen. He knew exactly what he needed to do to keep his job. If Dennis Rodman was out there trying to score every day, he would have lost his career much sooner if he wouldn't have focused on what he was supposed to do and what his greatest strength was.
To be a focal point of an offense doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the scorer. You could just be a distributor.
Draymond.
He could have been Draymond before Draymond. He didn't have to be.
Now, see, that I agree. He definitely could play the Draymond role. But to think that Dennis Rodman is just going to go out here and all of a sudden,
I'm not saying he's going to come out here and score 40.
Because as far as I know,
but I think
I've never seen Dennis Rodman do a crossover at all. I'm not saying he can't. I've just never seen it. I've never seen him really take anyone to the hole. I've never seen that.
He just never tried to, in pros. That's what I'm saying. He just concentrated on another thing. But I believe that if someone said Dennis, go out and get me 20 tonight.
What he had.
I'm just saying, do you think all of a sudden Dennis Rodman can be like ISO and wave niggas off and be like, I'm about to take this guy straight to the hole? I personally don't think he can do it on a professional level.
Honestly, I do think Dennis Rodman.
I don't.
Dennis Rodman was a superb athlete.
Now,
he's insane.
I'm not saying he's not an amazing athlete. I'm saying he's good at what he's good at. And he's not good at, he's a specialist. And there's nothing wrong with being a specialist.
So Rodman in 87.
So there's a different way to play the game that they would not be able to adjust to unless, like we're talking about, it's a totally different story. If they came up in this time, Dennis Rodman would probably be a monster because of how athletic he is. If he was raised playing the game the way these guys do, different story.
Well, man, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different story with any of these guys in the NBA back then. If they came up in these times, we're talking a whole different story.
I'm ready for
I'm just talking about with the skill set that they have back then.
So the guys that I had real quick for the top 5 for today's role players, I had Fred VanVleet. I watched him in college. The Shocker.
VanVleet is a role player, huh?
Yeah.
VanVleet is a role player. Okay.
He was never going to be a starter, yo. I mean, I know he started at some point.
Oh no,
like
man.
He wasn't gonna be a star is what I wanted to say. I said a starter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Starter me. Okay, go ahead.
He's like, I started somewhere. I know I did. VanVleet, Aaron Gordon, Kelly Olynyk, the headband dude. He's definitely a role player. He can score, and I didn't even know he gets buckets like that. I just thought he was an energy guy till I started watching him in Miami. Like he can get.
We saw the energy guy kind of was a guy that gets buckets.
Yeah, but like he does like everything. Like I mean, actually, almost to your point, except a crossover, he gets busy though. Like
yeah,
he's a lot nicer than what I thought he was. Olynyk, Drew Holiday, of course, and the switch up to not have the entire same list as T and Sir McGarts. I had a backup, old man Al Horford. So I watched him at the University of Florida.
That there's a role player.
Let me go, man. Let me go, man. Let me go, man.
Go ahead, got it.
Let me cook, coach. Let me cook.
So the current class, and I did this based off of when people started retiring as well. Okay.
Okay.
So when you hear names like Andre Iguodala, that's based off of the fact that he played through there. So Andre Iguodala.
That's when he was old man.
Green, Lou Williams.
I like Lou. Lou's a role player. Yeah.
6-man.
KCP.
Yeah.
You could have put in Malik Monk, another one that came up in my eyes.
Who? Malik Monk?
Yeah. He's a definite role player. Bruce Brown is a role player.
Bruce Brown is a definite role player.
Yes.
Herb Jones is a great role player down in New Orleans.
Is he with not the Hornets, New Orleans?
With New Orleans, with the Pelicans. He's really, really good. Yeah. Alex Caruso, who honestly, the only role player is what don't look at him as a role player is because he's got bandaged to Chicago.
Yeah. He's a great energy guy. That's an energy guy right there. Alex Caruso is great.
Norman Powell.
I wish we kept him.
Norman Powell is another really good one.
Oh yeah, I like him.
Norman Powell is very good player. But like that's just to name a few. So like
I'm surprised nobody said AR-15.
No, Austin Reeves isn't really like a. Like, see, this is where it gets hard for me, right? Because I don't think of Fred VanVleet. I think of him more as a starter. He's a fringe all-star, so I don't really think of him as a role player in that particular way. Although I can understand why you would say that.
True.
Just like Marcus Smart is kind of like that, and I mean, like for me to say that and then to put Dennis Rodman on the list, of course, it's hypocritical. But
like,
I mean,
see, that's the all-star thing. Is that because Mutombo's been an all-star?
Well, that's why I didn't have him on my list, but I understand why. Because a role player is, I guess, technically a person who plays a role on the team. But I feel like everybody plays a role. So it was
everybody plays their role.
But like a special guys.
It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. That's why I said in the 90s, a role player is more of a specialist. I would say a guy that like Bruce Bowen's specialist.
Yeah, Bruce.
He plays defense. That's what he do. Del Curry. Specialist. We need 3. Put in Dale. Like and Ray Allen kind of turned into that too later in his career. Although I wouldn't say he.
I ain't gonna let you get away with that.
I wouldn't say he was a role player, but later in his career he turned into
specialist,
a role player specialist kind of guy.
Yeah.
So it's difficult with the way that the game advanced to find role players now because
I like Josh Hart as a role player too.
Yeah, Josh Hart is a role player.
Yeah, I could see where someone would say. I had him actually. I graduated him after this playoff run. I'm graduating him out of the role spot actually.
But you know why I don't do that? Because when I look at the Showtime Lakers, right, there are so many guys that would have been superstars on another team that were on that squad. So Cooper, Cooper was really, really nasty.
I don't know.
Cooper is like.
I don't know if he would have been. I think he would have been more like Moncrief. He would have been really, really good. I don't know about superstar, but I feel like he would be Moncrief on the Bucks if he was on a different team.
Some more role players I got from this era: Carlton Banks, Jesus Shuttlesworth. Let's see here.
Like,
I think we got Teen Wolf on the list. Hold up.
Oh no, that's the 80s, and you didn't make my list.
He's a perennial all-star. No.
And there's other guys that could be considered. Like there's other guys that are just goons, like Anthony Mason. He's just a goon, and I think a guy like Anthony Mason would be better now than he was then.
Anthony Mason had a lot of.
I think Anthony Mason, the way he moves for a big dude and everything else, his game adapts very well to what's going on now.
Mace was nasty, yo.
Yeah,
all the way.
He would have been better in this era. And there's a slew of guards in the 80s and 90s that if you put them in this era, their whole trajectory is different. Like Isaiah Thomas, if you put Isaiah Thomas in the freedom that they have now, he is a real problem. Like he was a problem back then.
Yeah, how about
now?
Isaiah Thomas is a problem already.
It's good.
You heard Barkley's interview recently. He said that if it was him or Curry, he'd taken Isaiah Thomas, especially basically.
Damn right
like,
he is.
Isaiah's like that dude.
Yeah. He said that it was on Club Shay Shay.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, rules changed. Two guys that would have been. Look, there's three guys. There's three guys who played back then, who would have benefited so greatly by the way the game flows and plays now. They would have been all-stars and would have sold out all their jerseys. Chris Jackson, also known as Mahmoud Rauf, Sham God, would have been a monster in this age.
Today,
and Rod Strickland, he's basically Kyrie. He was basically Kyrie Irving. So no.
Who did you say?
Panute Bowl. He stroke a three.
Mark Eaton, definitely.
Yeah. Mark is not eating then, and he wasn't eating now. So he ain't eating nothing. Was that just Joel Ostertag?
Mark Eaton is Joker if Joker had no skills at all in basketball. That's what Mark Eaton is.
Oh, and another guy that probably would have fared really well in this is Arvinas Sabonis back in the day. He's also,
that's my dude.
I think he might be considered a role player too, but he's, I don't know. I can't give him the role player mantra, but he has a role player's game, I guess.
By the time
what about Detlef Schrempf?
Yeah, he's a tweener, man.
He would have been great in this era too.
Yeah.
Definitely was nasty, man. But I couldn't put him down as a role player.
I couldn't either. I was close, and I was
when I think of those. Go ahead, T. I'm sorry.
No, I said likewise.
You see, the thing about it is,
too good to be
a guy back then. Like Detlef Schrempf would be what we consider a role player in this era now. Like back then, he wasn't. Now in this game now, if he was playing, he'd be a role player now. I don't even know what position he'd play. No idea. So
he played German. That's what he did.
That's a good pivot point, right? So who do y'all have as your top 5 role players ever, no matter the era? I see you ready. I see the hands warming up, but I'm gonna let T go first. We'll keep you on the back.
All right.
Don't throw the alley-oop there.
I'll be quick, man. I'll be quick.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just playing.
So I've got Jamal Crawford for obvious reasons. I've got Dennis Rodman. I've got Jason Terry.
Okay.
Michael Cooper, and then Manu Ginobili. That's the last one.
Damn, I forgot about Manu.
I don't know how you did. I can't stand Manu, but he belongs on this list.
Yeah.
He's a thorn in my ass, but God, he like if he wanted to, he could have been third world George Hardy. I mean
George Hardy.
It's not George Hardy. Third world James Harden. He had that kind of game where if he really, really wanted to, he could have averaged probably 30.
And he's a better defender too.
Oh, well, yeah.
He flew around the floor. Yeah.
There's lots of people that are better defenders than James Harden.
Man. Nice. Aj, what you got?
Damn. I was gonna cross off some people. I crossed Jamal Crawford off my list because TJ put him out there. I mean, I was on that.
You could have left him.
He also mentioned two others that I was gonna have on there. So I'll try to just go with the other ones that weren't mentioned. And the last one, of course, is my coup de grace. So I have the microwave Vinnie Johnson, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green. I previously mentioned Manu Ginobili was on there. The original list was Jamal Crawford, and so was Dennis Rodman. But the last guy that I want to mention is somebody who people might not think is a role player, but in actuality, he is the ultimate role, and that is Bill Russell.
Yeah, I thought
I would say specialist,
he's
not role player.
He's an ultimate role player.
Yeah.
Ultimate role player. He can do whatever you ask him to do. He can do that for the team, and the team will win because of what he does. And he is I don't know, the Thanos of role player. I don't even know.
He's a superstar role player.
If you categorize that role player, he is the GOAT.
I would not put him. I don't think you can put him in the role player category.
He's a perfect role player. He plays.
I think he's a specialist.
He plays defense on people who don't want to play defense. He's a rebounding machine. He's the greatest outletter of the ball of all time. He's one of the greatest leaders of a team of all time. He could do anything you ask.
Damn, you really 2 episodes in a row with this. First Wilt, now this one. I'm now thinking, I'm like, is he a role player? Like,
see, that's what I mean. Like I don't think you can count him as a role player.
I think no, but I'm starting to. But I understand what he's saying, though. He kind of is.
I know what he's saying.
He's the ultimate role player.
He's a defensive specialist. That's what I.
No, because you got to remember, Greg, Bill Russell. Now that whole thing I said about Dennis Rodman, that's hypothetical. Bill Russell is an actuality. He could actually go out there and be like, "Oh, you need 50 tonight? I'll go out and get you 50." Like, no problem.
I know. Like I said, I realize that 100%. That's why I call him a specialist. He decided that's what he was going to do. He specialized in defense, rebounding, and outlet passing.
I don't think he decided that. He said this is what
attributes.
He said this is what the team needs, and he did it, which is what a role player does. If the team needed him to go out, run out there and score 50 points a night, he could have gone and done that. But he said, you know what the team needs? The team needs to get the ball, outlet it, and let Bob Cousy and Casey Jones run the floor like madmen. I mean,
but see, this is where this gets tricky, because you can take a guy like Michael Jordan and say he's a great role player, and his role was just to score. You see, this is
Michael Jordan 9 times no.
But I'm saying that fair enough. But I'm saying you can do that with a guy like that. Like, just be like, he's
LeBron James does everything, but LeBron James's idea, the idea of LeBron James being a role player is not the same as someone like Bill Russell being a role. Like Bill Russell,
I put Bill Russell in that light of he's a top 10 dude, and there's a reason he's a top 10 dude. Role players don't become top 10 dudes. He's bigger.
I understand that.
Okay, wait a minute.
That's a great. That's a great point. Continue.
I understand what he's saying, but
let me pull back. Let me pull back, because I think I know what you're saying, and this is some Cam Newton talk, and that's a compliment, because when Cam Newton was like talking about system quarterbacks, he said Tom Brady is the greatest system quarterback of all times, and I believe him because I understand what he was saying.
Correct.
And I think you're saying the same thing.
That's correct.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair. My argument is shut down. I yield to the floor, sir. I yield to the floor.
Bang. No.
Play music.
I'll jump in with
I can admit when I'm wrong.
But it was valid points.
You're not wrong, but I think most people don't look at Bill Russell. They try to put him in another realm of player, but if you really look at his career and what his skill set was, he was just a guy he was a get shit done guy, which is like he just did it. He just did it to an extent where people were like, "Yo," they had to notice it because he won 11 championships. I mean, like that's really, but I get it. It's a perfectly legitimate thing to say that he's not, but to me, he's the ultimate.
I'll be real quick with mine. So my top 5 greatest role players any era of all time. Number 5, my favorite, Bill Laimbeer. Everything about his game. I'm never letting it go. He clean you up. He'll get buckets. He's a guy that will neutralize you. He'll fight you. Bill Laimbeer for sure.
I didn't realize he averaged 17, by the way, Antoine. I didn't realize he
a couple
17.
seasons, yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you, he could get
Bill,
buckets.
Bill
I didn't realize he was
Laimbeer,
averaging
notice
17.
before Jordan hit those 6 threes in the finals, Bill Laimbeer had the record with 5.
That's true.
You
That's
leave
true.
Bill open, he'll get buckets on you.
That's true.
And y'all thought that was a joke, didn't you? No. Talking to the audience there. Absolutely. No. It's real.
He's like the OG stretch power forward. Like he's to get buckets.
But I mean, he's not going to be able to play in this era. I mean, being a power.
No, he's not. He's way too slow.
He's slow.
way too slow and too violent.
I mean,
I will concede.
you saw what I did, right?
You
saw what I did.
Slow like Jokic. It's not that kind of slow.
Yeah, I mean,
Bill Laimbeer is like the Jokic brothers in the stands. That's what Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah, exactly.
What slow white guys are out here winning today? I mean,
yeah, there's only one person. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about whose brother's getting who a job, but go ahead.
We all know it. No, so my next one on the list is Derek Fisher. D Fish, always ultimate role player, get buckets. Yeah. Nah, big time.
William Skinner would never.
Then, of course, my guy, Showtime Lakers, Michael Cooper. Bulls, Dennis Rodman. And my last one I'm going to name, he's not number one, but he's probably controversial to a lot of people because his game was centered around his team, and I thought it was the ultimate role. $10 to anybody to take a guess real quick. What I'm going to say. Bill Cartwright. Bill Cartwright. Bill Cartwright is one of the ultimate role players, right?
I think he's the ultimate locker room guy.
No, but
I wouldn't say role player.
So he was a starter, right?
Yeah, back in his young heyday, absolutely.
No, but through the three guy at the end. But through the three-peat, he was a starter. And look at the centers that he had to go against in each of those playoff runs, and definitely in the finals. He didn't have any slouches. So, he was a guy, he hit clutch free throws, clutch shots. It was a slow, ugly shot, but he got it done, and he was a great defender. I mean, and he didn't require any help.
He went against Kevin Duckworth one time. I mean, so we can, listen. Not get carried away.
I like the pick though. He doesn't really get a lot of
John. Yeah.
Nah.
He was a solid player, man. No doubt about it. He was solid.
Oh yeah. Greg, what you got for us?
That jumper was crazy.
It was because look, every time he used to
just what you said.
I was like, what is this? And it was like
I don't know, whatever it was, that shit was working. From the free throw line. Yeah, I don't care how ugly it was. The joint was wet. Shaq should have went to talk to him. Real talk.
Right. No, who was the dude that did this when he was like down low and he like tossed it up?
Rick Barry.
Yeah, Rick Barry. He should have did those too. Shaq could have.
Question was Rick Barry.
Okay, mine are real quick. Draymond Green's on the list. Dennis Rodman is on the list.
Love it.
What's his name? Dude who used to wear the headbands on the Trailblazers back in the day.
Cliff Robinson.
Terry Porter, not Terry Porter, the other one. Robinson.
Cliff Robinson.
Yeah. Uncle Cliff.
Cliff Robinson. Cliff Robinson was that dude.
I like that.
He was one of the most solid dudes as far as that goes.
Pretty solid.
What's his name? I don't know how to say his name. Turkoglu. I don't know how to say his first name.
Oh, Hedo Turkoglu. Yeah, he's nasty.
Hedo,
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Turkoglu. And then as upsetting as it is for me to say, that goddamn Ginobili.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. I don't like him. But
Manu.
Damn it, do I respect him.
Even Jackson says he used to kill him in practice all the time, and Pop used to kill him.
I bet he did. He's always saying.
They're like, no, can't play.
Oh, and hold on. I got an honorable mention for this too. Doug Christie.
I like
I'll take that.
Yeah.
That's a real good one.
Nice. So
what honorable mentions? I mean, Brian Grant. How about that? Let's just throw him out there.
He was IT before IT.
Yeah. He was the first. I think he was the first NBA player I saw who played with locks.
Yeah, for me.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, at least to me.
He was good though.
He was good. He was solid. He was solid. He was a solid dude.
So we got to close out the show, right? And we're gonna do this in style. Got to have a little bit of fun here. When we talk about the worst player in NBA history, right? I'm not talking about somebody that is a bust, somebody that we have expectations of. I'm talking about like somebody who just does not make your team better. In fact, it might make them worse. You know, there's somebody who comes to mind for me, but I'm gonna let somebody else go first here, right? Greg, I'm gonna start with you. Who is your pick for the worst player?
Well, sir,
Hey, cardio. And even if he did that, he
starts and ends. I don't even know his first name, but I do know he's Giannis's brother.
Oh, Thanasis the assassin. No, come on, man. Thanasis
is the absolute worst player. He's the only guy I've looked at in the NBA in all the years that I've been watching, saying he doesn't belong here. He does not belong here. And there is proof of this. We looked it up earlier. This is how his career went. Second round pick for the Knicks. I think he averaged like 3 points in 3 minutes. Then he disappeared for 4 years. And then all of a sudden, he's on the Bucks.
I can't argue this pick.
Just around the time that Giannis is about to leave the team.
Oh my goodness.
So he just kind of showed up, and Giannis was like, "Hey, if you want me, my brother Thanos Theopolis, or whatever the hell his name is, he needs a job too."
Wait, didn't they get him a Nike deal too? If I'm not mistaken, is that the brother that has a deal with Nike as well, along with Giannis?
Look, I don't know. He might, but what I do know is he is the absolute worst player in the NBA, and it's not even close.
I beg to disagree, but yeah, that's a great
well,
pick.
If you beg to disagree, explain to me how he's on the NBA roster for a weekend, gets fired, and then all of a fucking sudden his brother's on the team and he's rising and he's got a job again. I don't even think he tried out.
It's a great pick, Greg. I can't refute that it's not a great pick. I'm just saying that
it's not.
I got somebody
easily.
I got somebody who's worse.
No, you don't. I guarantee you don't.
Yeah. I mean, at least Thanasis is 6'8". I mean, like
he's not even that. He's 6'7".
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoa, watch out for the inch. Hold on.
That's what
she said.
Yeah. Yo, T, what you got for us?
Well, gentlemen, the Jordan Poole slander continues.
God bless it.
I got him as the worst. And I'm going to give you some criteria here. Now, Thanasis, the guy doesn't really get in the game. So in my opinion, if you want to be classified as the worst player, you got to have enough time to show just how bad you are. Now, I know some people thought that, Jordan Poole was going to do a little something. I never did. I thought he was a just awful decision maker on a super stacked team. His confidence was, year to the moon, and his skill level is maybe about as high as a blade of grass when it comes to the NBA ranks. So I don't really see him as he's not a very good high percentage shooter. His decision making is poor. Like I said, I'll say the bigger the moment, and when it's on him, the worse his decision making gets. He seems to be a bad teammate. The other reason why I classify him as worse is because he's the worst deal. For all that we're talking about, you're paying top dollar to get him. So I mean, I cannot think of a single point guard in the history of the NBA that I wouldn't take over him. So that puts him, for me, squarely on the ocean floor.
I love it. I love both those picks. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to let Arch take us home, right? So my pick, when I think about the worst player in NBA history, current, past, present, I think about somebody who takes away from the concept of team. Basketball is a team sport, and you need guys who are going to do the right thing at the right time and actually show up. And I couldn't think of a worse player outside of Greg's pick, which is phenomenal, than Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley, recent Laker, right? He stunk. All right. Patrick Beverly was on 7 NBA teams. Not one of those teams got better because of his presence.
Oh, man.
He shoved Chris Paul in the back. He'll argue with teammates. He'll throw shit at you in the crowd. I'm like, dog, this guy does not make you better. I had high hopes when he was on the Lakers. I was like, he has skills for sure, right? He's not a bust, but he's horrible. You don't want him on your team, yo. And look at every team that he's been on. Have they ever been to the finals? Don't worry, I'll wait. He was just on the Bucks, right? What happened? They got Doc Rivers and they got bounced from the playoffs. Hey,
yeah. That was Jay Crowder's fault. Everybody knows you can't go to the finals with Jay Crowder.
Listen,
you can't win the finals.
You got 2 of them, okay? But at the end of the day, at least Jay Crowder, he used to give some back. He gives you some buckets, But Patrick Beverly, he stinks, yo. Everywhere he goes, he's always a distraction. Negative. Don't want him on my team. Glad he's gone. Sorry that he was on your team. Look at your team now, Oz. The Timberwolves, look at them. They're flourishing. You see what happens?
I've never liked Patrick Beverly. He seems cantankerous, but I mean, I got to say, when he was in Minnesota, he was doing what he had to do. You got to say, he gets into the playoffs, man. It's raised the bar.
Okay, for both of you guys, I'm just going to make something plain and obvious.
You aren't even here. You can't come back in here.
No, I heard Jordan Poole and I heard Patrick Beverly. Now, I understand your reasoning, but there's a reason why people keep on picking up Patrick Beverly, and there's a reason why somebody picked Jordan Poole.
No, Jordan Poole, because he got – I don't know if he's getting picked after this.
There is no reason besides he's Giannis's brother.
Nah, man, I'm not going to –
18.
Chill, God, relax, God. I'm not going to let you – yo, he was on
– the Nass's layup package is nasty.
But he was on to behind the back. He made the Knicks.
Huh? He was there for a weekend.
Doesn't matter how long he was there.
And the only reason he was on the Knicks is because they couldn't pronounce Giannis's name and they called the wrong name.
That's not true. That's not true.
Yo, did you see the point where he tried to the behind the back layup like a double pump and the shit just went everywhere? I was like, yo, Thanasis is the worst show.
Thanasis is all right, man. 6'8", man. 6'7". You know what I'm saying?
Like, what is he doing, yo? He looked like a kid on a playground just picking up some shit. I was like,
what was he gonna say, TJ? I wanted to talk.
Well, I mean, Greg's pick is phenomenal.
It is.
I can't, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say I would Nassis's salary is less than $2 million.
Yeah.
I'd rather pay less than $2 million for Giannis to be happy than pay $32 million to watch somebody go out there and tank my team.
I take it. You got Kyle Kuzma for that. Oops. But yeah. Aj, take us home. What you got, yo?
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think anybody who knows me and has ever talked to me about NBA basketball knows who I think the worst all-time player is to ever make the NBA.
I forgot the name, but I know who you're talking about.
Oh, it's impossible to forget the name. Let me just read you his resume. He was governor of California. Yeah, he was a bodybuilder, and he was never mind. That's another show. Anyway, no. He was a Heisman Trophy winner and a bodybuilder. No, Charlie Ward. It's Charlie Ward.
He was WWE champion.
But look. I'm gonna go. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go legacy worst of all time, and then I'm gonna go current day of worst player. All time, the worst player I've ever seen play is Charlie Ward. And I take to what TJ said. As Greg said, the Nass's pick is fantastic, but
that's a GOAT pick.
He does not play, right? He only gets in when stuff is way out of hand. He's not even a victory cigar. He's just he's a cigarette. Like
you're proving my point.
No. Go ahead. But like maybe if the Nass's got something else, maybe he would do better because he doesn't have to do well because he doesn't play.
But Charlie Ward, this is a hell of a pick. I gotta hear this. Go for it.
Charlie Ward was a starting point guard for the New York Knicks for a decade. Does anybody know this guy's stats? Has anyone ever seen this guy's stats? I mean, this guy is awful. He's awful. You understand what I'm saying? I literally could do what he does. I literally could do it. 6 points a game, I could do that shit. I could literally do that with 7-footers out there. I could do that. Sure, I could. Sure, I could. What? Three turnovers, 2 assists, 5 assists. I could do that shit. Anybody could. If this guy went to where I play basketball on Saturdays, I'm picking him 3rd or 4th. That's where I think about Charlie Ward. As far as basketball skills go, he's only in the NBA because he was there beside Sam Cassell, and it was like, he's a great athlete. He probably could do. He didn't do shit. All right, he should have gone to the NFL. The NFL cheated him out of his career. Shout out to him for getting his money by going to the NBA and scheming these people. He's like, he hit the lot. He hit the lotto. Like, this guy, man, he's a bum. I don't even know how to say it, man. I don't even mean that in a negative way. I mean,
but you're a bum, but in a good way.
I don't mean that. I don't mean that in no nice way. Like, I think he's trash. His game is trash.
Charlie Ward is your Jay Will. I got you.
So look, the current day one is a guy who only because I didn't want to, because Greg said he didn't even know how to pronounce the guy's first name. I didn't even bother to try to learn the guy's first name after I saw him play. Sochan, who is this guy? He's terrible. He's trash. Exactly. Jeremy Sochan plays on the Spurs right now.
Oh yeah, he stinks. Yeah.
It does.
Not only to quote Bomani Jones, they let this man play like that and dye his hair and wear number 10 for the Spurs. Who the hell does that? I'm like, Pop might have gotten he retired already. He's retired in play. He's RIP, retired in play. He's retired in place because this trash ass baller. He's out here on the team, yo. He couldn't make a G League. He couldn't make Knight. He couldn't make Kentucky. He couldn't start at Kentucky. This guy's trash, man. Like, he sucks. He sucks so bad. You know what? If him and Charlie Ward play 1-on-1, toss up. That's how bad he is.
Wow.
And I think he's taller than Charlie Ward. Toss up.
He is taller than Charlie Ward.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting tossed up, Charlie Ward got pitched by Goodman Brown.
Yep, it's the only highlight of his career.
One of the greatest moments of my life. I remember like it was yesterday. I was sitting there watching the game, the Heat Knicks game. I was laying on the couch like this. He picked him up. I was just like this. I was only at the time I shot up like that in like a mid in the half stupor was when Usain Bolt was running in the Olympics. And I was like,
you know what made it so disrespectful? He picked him up at the waist. Like,
oh yeah,
yes.
It was bad.
He picked that little nigga up like luggage.
That's Charlie Ward's career.
Charlie Ward looked like a duffel bag at baggage claim.
Yeah. He plays like a duffel bag. Like, look, man, the guy, that's Charlie Ward.
Back to the point I was making. See, what you said was he plays like a duffel bag. He plays. All of your guys play.
No, I get what you're saying, but look.
Definitely.
I don't know why
the Sotan pick is ill. That's a great pick too.
I don't know why the Knicks play that.
And he plays like he's an all-star too. Like he plays like he thinks he's good. I love his audacity.
Look, the audacity of this dude, Sochan. Here's the audacity of him. I watched 5 or 6 Spurs games, especially in the beginning of the year, because everybody was watching the Alien, right? This dude refused to give him the ball because he was like, they didn't come here to see a 7'8" dude do turnarounds and crossovers. They came here to see me. They came here to see me. That's how Thanasis would eat his lunch. All right, that's how I feel about that.
No, Thanasis would pack a lunch for Giannis and sit his ass on the end of the bench and cheer. Like, he can't get a check for it.
I can't argue that completely, but I'm just saying. Put Thanasis on the Spurs, I think he's gonna play a better role than this. This guy is trash. I don't know how to.
I'll put it like this.
I don't even know how they found this guy.
His first and last stop is in the goddamn Bucks uniform. If Giannis leaves the Bucks, no team is gonna be like, Giannis is so good, we're taking Thanasis too. His career is over. Unless Giannis is a career Buck, his career is done.
I don't think Giannis can convince another team to take him.
I think that's in Giannis's contract.
No one else is gonna get him. Like I said, Patrick Beverly ain't trading this nigga like garbage pail kid cards. That nigga always playing. He's always
expiring contracts.
That reminds me. Who else did Charlie Ward play for? It was exactly. He didn't play for anybody else.
Once again, he did that for 10 years as a starter.
As a starter, yeah.
As a starter.
Go back and look at his stats.
Jordan Poole.
Wait, I got.
Jordan Poole is the greatest robber in the game. Like, I've never seen anyone be like,
nah, that's Tobias Harris.
Give me all your money and watch me do nothing.
Tobias Harris is the greatest thief ever. Tobias Harris.
If he had a longer career, he would have been #1 on my list, and there would have been no Patrick. Tobias Harris. He stinks so bad.
Look, I'm not saying that he stinks, but that dude.
No. When it counts,
he be disappearing.
I would have took a hop of Jimmy Butler over Tobias Harris. Okay, the man had a wide open shot and decided to take 2 steps into the paint because he knew he didn't want you.
I see. I thought that I had heard that Ben Simmons wanted Tobias as opposed to Jimmy.
Probably
because Ben Simmons. Now, if we're talking about most disappointing players ever, Ben Simmons is it for me.
Right, that would have been different. Yeah,
but he's not the worst guy I've ever seen.
No. When Ben Simmons turned it on, he wasn't bad. Before whatever happened with him happened, Philly was nice with him and Embiid. I was like,
great.
Yeah.
That's why he's the most disappointing player ever. I've never seen anyone just give up on life so quickly.
Markelle Fultz,
and for so little.
Oh yeah. Whatever happened to him? Like,
he's on Orlando somehow.
Like he's still in the league?
Yeah, that's what I said too. When I saw them in there, they were like, and here comes Markelle Fultz. I was like, Markelle Fultz.
I didn't know he's still bald. Yeah, he's disappointing as hell. Like it was a shoulder or something, and next thing you know, he couldn't shoot. They kept saying, and then
he had a mental thing.
And you see, once again, these are all people that you had expectations for.
Could it be that once again you are
nobody expected anything from Theanos? Nobody knows why he's there. I don't care what his name is.
Good.
He's Giannis. Oh. You know what he is? He is the Ray J of basketball. Ain't that Giannis, brother? That's who he is. There's no need.
Wait, so I just looked at Charlie Ward's career stats, right? Between the Knicks, Spurs, and Houston, right? And yeah, you have an argument.
Yo, go ahead and read. Go ahead and say what his stat was. Go ahead and say his career.
I won't do it. I want that man to have some dignity. I won't do it.
Just give one category.
Nah.
Just give the points.
Nah. I'm looking at Skip Bayless level numbers here, man. No, won't do it.
Started for 10 years though.
In 1994-95, he averaged 1.6 points a game. Okay, if I got in the game for 1 minute, what? Open shot. I'm draining that.
Do that.
He barely scored. He scored less than a bucket a game, and he averaged a good amount of time. Like and it didn't really get too much better over the course of his career.
The hell you say? Go on. Go on. Read on.
I gotta leave Greg with the GOAT level pick because this Charlie Ward is starting to pick up steam. The more I look at this, like, no.
How many assists did he do a game? How many assists did he have a game?
Man, listen.
He's a starting point guard, right?
He is. I don't know what he was pointing to, but yeah.
Well, I tell you what he wasn't pointing to. He wasn't pointing to his brother saying, "Thanks for the job, homie." That's what he wasn't doing.
I don't know. Him and Sam Cassell aren't related. Are they related, or is Sam Cassell related to him? Or
hey, he must have owed him a favor. I don't know. That's embarrassing.
Most people don't know shit about boxing. You never looked at his stats, did you? You just thought,
man. I thought he was okay, but I didn't know he was that bad. I'm like, nah, you gotta I don't know. That's gonna be revisiting for another day.
I have asked friends for decades. I said, okay, name me someone worse than Charlie Ward that you've seen play basketball. And
hold on. This is the thing about it, though, Aj. And this is where I'm beating you when it comes to this.
Yeah, you see, that's going wow. I don't even know his stats for real. I'm just saying, like, he's terrible.
No, his stats are horrible, yo.
Charlie Ward's stats are horrible.
My eyes.
But he's still somehow earned not only a position on the team, a starting position on the team. If you look up Charlie Ward highlights, you're not going to see that much.
Of the Knicks franchise that he was the starting point guard for that long. Indictments.
If you look up Giannis's brother's stuff, it is a blooper reel of tragedy. Like everything he does is bad.
Right. But
he does not there. Like Charlie Ward
on there for morale. He's Mr. Morale. That's what it is.
Charlie Ward's not good, but at least he looks like a professional out there.
So this is what I'm going to say, right?
He
This is what I'm
looks
going
like
to say.
a professional out there.
I would argue
Thanasis averaged more points per game than Charlie Ward. I'm going to leave it alone.
Yeah.
For the time that he played.
Thanasis also plays whenever they're up by 30 or down by 30.
It's a blowout.
He's not.
He's not. I'll
put it like this: when Thanos is in the game, they're not bringing their best. I don't care what his name is.
True.
You know, guys, I'll say that what you pay for those guys is probably, you know, if you take the people on the team and, you know, 6 through 12 and you add up their salaries, it's probably, you know, not like the Jordan Poole situation where
they got robbed.
Him out, you could probably replace him with 4, 5 decent players.
You could have the roster for the Minnesota Timberwolves. There you go.
Yeah. So
all those great guys who are balling.
We're talking about the deal here. We're talking about getting bang for your buck. Can it get any worse than this? I don't think so.
Well, once again,
in
the case of Jordan Poole, look where he went. It could only turn out this way. We're talking about the people that make the worst decisions in the business, sir. No. They're the worst. At least the Clippers.
Do you know why he's there?
At the very least, the Clippers allow you to get your hopes up. The Wizards don't even do that for you. They're the absolute.
You can't say that because there's a team that is just run so poorly that they take on a terrible contract.
True.
Yeah, you definitely can say that.
Because look at Klay Thompson this year. Klay Thompson needs a shot, right? He's not the player he once was. Jordan Poole is much younger. Why wouldn't you have kept Jordan Poole? But we all know Poole is.
You know why they didn't keep Jordan Poole?
Of course. No, I mean, you could have traded Draymond. Draymond is.
You know damn well they ain't getting rid of Draymond.
Well, I don't know.
I'll throw the question out. What point guard are you taking Jordan Poole over?
Nobody.
Charlie Ward.
Well,
Charlie Ward and Pat Ward.
So you'd rather pay $2 million for Charlie Ward than $32 million for Jordan Poole?
I would rather pay $32 million for Jordan Poole over Charlie Ward.
I wouldn't. I would take Charlie Ward.
Well, look, wait.
You got to go back and look at this. See, you got to look at this.
Jordan Poole averages more points, but that's because he takes more.
He takes a lot of shots. But Jordan Poole, you can be like, hey man, why don't you come off the bench? Blah blah blah. You can't do shit with Charlie Ward.
Not reasonable.
You can't do anything with Charlie Ward.
Okay, I'll say this for Jordan Poole.
Ward is terrible, but
it's for Jordan Poole. I'm gonna give him this caveat. Now, because it's his first year, he thought he was better than he was. Let's see what happens next year. If he comes back and it's the same story, then I'll be like, okay, huh?
This was the year. How do you go?
Whoa. Let me finish now. He came here, he got kicked in the teeth. So let's see how he regroups. Maybe he's better next year. Maybe he finds his footing. So he's still young and it's not out on him yet.
So
let's see if this happens. Maybe. I know what you're saying. What makes me think this is going to happen?
What's giving you this hope?
He thought he was Gilbert Arenas and
no.
Gilbert Jim.
It's not giving me hope.
Yes, it is.
What it's giving me is.
Well, what is it?
Yo,
it's giving me contrary in here because I ain't seen nothing from Jordan Poole that makes me think that he's gonna have a shot.
Right now, he's had one good year and one horrible year. We have to see what happens. This is like this is the tiebreaker year. We have to see.
Hold on.
Steph Curry is not coming to DC.
Do you honestly believe that any other point guard in the league would not have had a good year on that team?
I don't think anyone.
Every other point guard would have had a good year.
Even Charlie Ward.
I don't believe that.
Shit. Is Jeremy
Maybe not. Maybe not Charlie.
But Charlie Ward might have got a couple of assists by passing the curve.
Down with the Baylor. Get the hell out of here.
He ain't special.
Chan did.
He ain't any better.
Yeah.
Wow. Baylor's a good team for developing pro players too. That's wild.
Trash.
I said we've all got a case here.
Yeah. Your pick was.
But I'm just saying, like, mine is the most clear cut in my eyes. Like, because each one of you guys, like, somehow the worst player, there's no way that the worst player in the league is just going to end up earning 19 jerseys at the end of his career. It's not going to happen.
No, that's not true. There's a lot of players that do that in every sport.
The worst. The fucking bottom of the barrel. Somehow he keeps getting work. And somehow he's still getting playing time. Charlie Ward. Somehow they just kept him around for 10 years. Inexplicably. Jordan Poole, the word is still out. That nigga might be going next summer. Like, who knows?
Charlie Ward was cheap. He was going to be in the NFL, so he was like, I'll take less money because it's still more money than I would have made as a quarterback.
That's true.
Well, he wasn't going to get picked up as a quarterback.
Which was wild.
He got blackballed. I feel bad for Charlie Ward.
So did I until I saw him put on that New York Knicks jersey.
I knew.
He's like,
I felt terrible for him. I was like, man, this is a tragedy. And then I saw him play. I was like, man, this is a tragedy.
But none of you can tell me. Like, I feel like each person that y'all are talking about earned their spot rightfully. They earned it. I'm not saying they deserved it. I said they earned it somehow. Somehow people watched film and said, he belongs here. Let's give him a shot. Giannis's brother showed up to a practice one day. He picked up a jersey and he was like, what is this? And he was like, oh yeah, they messed up on my jersey and they put the wrong number on it. And he put on the jersey. It was like, it fits. And they were like, yeah, why don't you come on out, hang out. And he was in the layup line in dress shoes. And then Giannis was like, I got a contract coming up. If I threaten to leave, maybe I can slide you on in here. And that's how he got his job. There's a difference here.
Yo, what's Thanos' contract, yo? What's his contract like?
Thanasis. Jesus.
They can pay that man an alphabet cereal. I don't give a shit. He's overpaid regardless.
I think he's got it's probably a year to year. But
that man big crunch.
I would trade that man for a 6-pack of Snackwell cookies. Those are the worst cookies on the market.
That's nasty. No.
I would trade him for a fucking hot and ready Little Caesars. I would trade that nigga. I would trade him for gas station sushi. This nigga is just
he makes $1.7 million.
And he's overpaid by 1.7 million. Okay.
I'm just
to me, he brings a lot to the Bucks. He brings
Gatorade, socks, oranges.
That too. And he keeps Giannis happy. Holla, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's his job. And you know what? He doesn't need a uniform to do that. I'm sorry. Like he doesn't need a uniform to do that job.
I mean, if you're a multi-billion-dollar business, paying $1 million to a dude to sit there and cheer people on isn't the worst idea in the world. Now, if you're a multi-billion-dollar business and you're paying $2 million for a guy to go out there and have 6 turnovers every night, and they're supposed to be doing other stuff, that's a little bit different.
Look,
I don't know. That's
okay. Well, Hodge, let me break it down like this.
What?
If you put Giannis's brother, I'm just going to call him. If you put Basketball Ray J in the starting lineup and let him play,
that's insane. That's insane, dog.
Do you think that things are going to get better, or do you think
I think he's going to average more? I think he's going to average more than 1.6 points a game.
Yeah.
I think he's going to average more than that.
Bad business, Dale. Bad.
I think every game is going to look like a Shaq in the Fool blooper reel. Every game. He's going to be a Shaq in the Fool.
I think
immediately.
I want to see him start, yo. I want to see what Thanasis would do. He probably wouldn't even know what to do.
Yo, his effort alone is going to get him more points, rebounds, and assists than Charlie Ward. Dog.
See, that's the thing.
Effort alone.
When he is out there, he tries so hard, and it's embarrassing.
No, he gets rebounds. I've seen him play like he gets rebounds. So he does his part. when he's out
That's
there.
against the Gatorade guys when the game.
It is, but I'm just saying,
is
like, he does his part when he's out there. It's not like he's
that's against the guys that were on Make-A-Wish programs and shit like that. That's who he's playing against when he's out there.
I mean, it could be worse. He could be playing against the starters for 10 years.
Exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Like that Heisman Trophy winner. There we are.
Look.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, like,
Basketball Ray J is averaging 1 point whatever against the worst of the worst when he's in the game.
But he's only in the game for like 3 minutes.
He's playing guys that literally have mops and help the guys sweep up and stuff. Those are the guys he's playing against, and he's averaging.
I'm not trying to advocate for him being not the worst player. I'm just saying that, you get 3 minutes, you get a 3-minute window. That's one thing. When you're playing 30 minutes a night, what's your excuse then? Like, what are you doing?
Hey, I don't know.
Main coach.
And it's none of my business. What I do know is coaches saw him and they saw fit to be like, Charlie going out there for the jump ball. That's what I know. I know they looked at Patrick Beverly and said, yeah, I realize he's a pain in the ass, but get on out there. He plays with tenacity. We like him. We like him.
You know what, Greg?
I know Jordan people were like, well, let's just give him a couple $1 million to see how it goes. With Thanos, with Basketball Ray J, with Basketball Ray J, they were just like, we really can't afford Giannis to leave right now. That's what the fuck happened. There's a difference here.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna end just like this, Greg. The Knicks have been kicking ass in the playoffs this year, and they go out there and they show every old Knick that plays there. You know who doesn't show up?
I think their relationship ended poorly.
I mean, it might have been those 1.6 reasons to do that. We're not talking about millions, but listen, ladies and gents, that's our show. We reminisce over you. Shout out to all the role players out there. Shout out to Thanos, aka Thanasis, aka the Michael Jordan of the worst players of all time. Be glad for Giannis. We'll see you next episode. Peace.